George, I work at thoughtbot, and I'm going to talk tonight about letting Vim do the typing. As Tute said, as humans, we're pretty bad at typing. I probably spend 8, 9, maybe even 10 hours a day typing. I still make mistakes all the time. I'm still really, really bad at it. And I chose to use Vim. I chose an editor that's very efficient. It's all about saving keystrokes. It's all about making sure that you do the minimum amount of work to get the maximum amount of effect. So why would I spend all this time typing, which is this really slow, manual, error-prone process? So we're going to talk about all the different ways that Vim can kind of help you out with that and reduce the amount of typing you do. First, we need to sort of talk a little bit about philosophy. VI versus Emacs, one of the battles that's raged since the beginning of time itself. Now, these are both great editors, but they have very different philosophies. So in VI, we tend to modify what a key does by switching mode. So you might hit I to go into insert mode, and now when you hit keys, they add text to the document. Then when you're in normal mode, hitting keys might make some kind of edit. Whereas when you're in Emacs, you're going to change what the key does by holding down some modifier keys. You're going to hold down Control or Alt or Shift or Control, Alt, and Shift. You're going to kind of twist your hand into weird shapes. Everything I'm going to show you today involves staying in insert mode and holding down modifier keys. So it's going to feel very Emacs-like, but it still fits within Vim philosophy. One of the things that makes Vim efficient is that we like to think in terms of edits. You start out in normal mode, you go into insert mode, you do a little bit of editing, and then you get out again. And you've made a single edit which you can repeat using the dot key, and you can undo it using the U key. But what if, as part of that edit, you want to add some text to your document that you know Vim has definitely seen before? Maybe this text is a symbol in your program, or something you've got in a register, or something that's in one of your files. That would conceptually be part of the same edit. Let's see what I mean with a concrete example. So here's a document. I know that Vim currently has the word hello in the A register, has the word world in the B register, and I want to quickly type hello world. So what I could type is double quote A to select the A register, and you can see the keys I'm hitting down there in the bottom right. Double quote A, and then P, now I've got my hello, then A to go into insert mode and space, escape to get out of insert mode, double quote B to select the B register, P again, A again to go into insert mode and return to end the line and then escape. Quite a lot of keystrokes. I didn't have to type out hello world, so I'm kind of winning on that. I didn't have to do the error-prone typing where I could have made a typo. But I made 4 different edits. I did a paste and insert, a paste and insert. And if I hit dot to repeat my edit, I just repeat the last insert where I put in a new line. And if I hit U, I'm going to have to hit U 4 times to undo that thing. But conceptually, it was one edit. In my mind, it was one edit of adding hello world to the document. So this is the kind of thing where I might want to stay in insert mode and do something more complicated than just adding a single character. So what are some ways that we can do this? Well, I can use Control R. So if I go into insert mode, I can hit Control R, and you'll notice Control R has just popped up down there, but my cursor has changed color, and there's a little double quote there. The double quote's there kind of as a hint to say, hey, tell me a register. Double quote's the key you press in normal mode to tell them the next key coming up is the name of a register. So say, tell me a register. So I'm going to say register A. So I just pasted from register A without ever leaving insert mode. So I can hit space immediately, Control R again, B for register B, and return. And now if I hit escape to leave insert mode and I press dot, I can repeat that edit. I've made one edit, but I did it using bits of text that Vim had seen before, and I did it kind of using these control key sequences in insert mode. So are you all convinced that I'm not some heretical Emacs user? That it's okay to hold down the control key in insert mode sometimes? Cool. So one more thing to do with registers. There is a special register called dot, and the dot register contains whatever the last text you inserted was the last time you were in insert mode. Right, so the last time I was in insert mode, I inserted hello space world new line. So if I go back into insert mode and I hit Control R and then I hit dot, I reinsert that entire thing. But even cooler, if I just hit Control A, Vim just does that for me. So have you ever been in the situation where you've made an edit and you want to repeat the edit, you're about to hit dot, and then you realize, oh no, wait, last time I wanted to change up to the underscore, but this time there's no underscore. I want to change up to the end of the word. Or last time I was changing to the end of the word, this time I want to change to the bracket or something. But you can't do it. Well, you can. You can type the new command like the change to underscore part, and then you can just hit Control A to repeat the insertion. Nice and fast. A little bit Emacsy, but you know, still in the Vim philosophy, still very efficient, still about making atomic edits that can be repeated and undone. So that's justifying why I'm holding down Control. So let's really get into the meat of this. So we've got a few of my favorite things in insert mode are Control R and Control A, but the biggest category of things where you want Vim to insert text for you, more than just one character at a time when you're in insert mode, is completion. So like when you're in the shell, you might hit tab to do tab completion. When you're in Vim, there's all this context that Vim has about your project. You know, you've got all these files open, it's seen all the words that you're typing, and often if you're doing, you know, especially if you're programming, you're repeating the same words over and over again. Language keywords, symbols in your program, class names, function names, all that kind of stuff. So how can we do completion? And everything I'm about to show you, everything I've shown you so far and everything I'm going to show you is all like built into Vim. So there's no plugins involved in any of this. Feel free to squeeze in, there's a few seats around the place. Don't worry. So I've got a document here containing some text, and I want to type the word quick. So I'm going to go into insert mode and hit QU. But quick is like, it's here. It's in the first line of my document. So I shouldn't have to type the whole thing. That's like 3 more keystrokes where I could make a mistake. Who has time?
Knowing the hands like that, I'm sure you'll make a mistake.
Yeah. Programming. So instead, I'm going to hit Control P. So Control P is Vim's default key binding for completion. P stands for previous, so it looks backwards through the document for previous matches. So I typed QU, and the first thing it finds is quick, because if you go backwards through the document, the next thing you hit that starts with a QU is quick. And I can repeat that. I can keep hitting Control P to cycle through these options. Notice that this one, quickly, has a file name after it. That's because that didn't come from this file, but Vim is smart enough to look in more than just one place. So Vim is looking at like other files I have open, other parts of my project. We'll get into exactly where it looks a little bit later on. And the opposite of previous is next. So as well as Control P, which searches backwards through the document for previous things, I can hit Control N to go forwards for other things. And you get some like useful little context at the bottom as well about where you are. Control N and Control P, it's quite simple. It just matches on like the word that you're typing and tries to find a match for the rest of the word. But I'm kind of laboring the Control N and Control P keystrokes because they're how you browse through your different options in all the other types of completion that we're about to talk about. So like knowing those two is kind of foundational. Everyone with me on Control N, Control P? We're all very quiet. You can say things. It's okay. I gave this talk in London and I told them they were being too quiet and I expected people to behave like they do in New York and be noisy. And now I'm giving the talk in New York and you're all being quiet again.
Control N.
Woo! Thanks.
Wow. You can tell I'm not a New Yorker.
So we've got Control P and Control N for simple word completion. But I don't normally use Vim for typing words. I normally use it for typing programs. So let's start talking about some kind of programming specific completions. Who is familiar with CTags? It's about half of us. CTags, to refresh your memory if you haven't met it, it's a program that indexes your source code and it finds the names of things, so like class names, method names, function names, that kind of stuff, and it finds where they are declared in your software. So for example, in this Ruby program, I have a class called human. If I run CTags, and there are various Vim plugins that will run CTags automatically for you, but if I have run CTags, then my tags file will know that the class human is declared in the file code.rb at line 1. Which means that if I have the word human elsewhere in my file, I can hit Control and closing square bracket, oops, And of course I don't have a tags file. And that totally worked last time I gave this talk. There we go. Okay. I just hit a leader command that I have set up to manually run the tags when my Vim plugin has failed me. So I have a tags file now, and when I hit Control closing square bracket, it jumps from the character that's under the cursor, so like this symbol human, to the place where that was defined. It will jump across files. So everyone happy with CTags? So another use, once you have this tags file, conveniently you have a list of all these names that are in your program. So you can also use the tags file for completion. So say I've just typed capital H. If I just hit Control P, which is what we saw before, I get hello, which is part of a string, and I get human, which is a symbol in my program, and I get how, which is from some other file that I don't really care about. What if I know that I want to type a class name? Right, like I know that this is going to be, a symbol from my program. I can tell Vim only complete from those symbols. So this is where it gets really Emacsy. I hit Control X, which puts me in a special sub-mode of insert mode, which is completion mode. And once I've hit Control X, I get this thing at the bottom that says, oh, I'm in Control X mode. I can hit any of these things to all do different kinds of completion. And in this case, I want to complete a tag, so I use closing square bracket, Control closing square bracket. And it just immediately completed human. As it says at the bottom, it's the only match. Right, there wasn't anything else in my tags file that started with a capital H. If I use Control P, I have to scroll through all these other options that aren't symbols in my program. But with Control X, Control square bracket, straight to the one that's a symbol in my program. So that's tag completion. Any questions so far? Everyone with me? Cool.
George, when you did the CTag to go to the definition,
yep.
If the definition's in a different file, how do you switch back to where you just were? If you want to go look up the definition and then come back.
There is a thing called the jump list, where Vim remembers all the places you've moved to if you use the kind of motion that Vim considers to be a jump. So like if you just press J to go down a line, that's not considered to be a jump. But if you use like a jump to tag, Control square bracket, that's considered to be a jump. And if you hit Control O and I, they will go forwards and backwards through the jump list. So I can show you even just in this one file. If I hit Control square bracket to jump to the definition of human, then I can hit Control O to go back to where I was before. You think of it as like in and out. So Control O, like you kind of drill in to look at things, and then you hit Control O to go back out to where you were.
With tag navigation, you can also pop from the tag stack with Control T.
Oh, cool! I didn't know that. So if I've gone to this, tag, I can hit Control T.
Yeah.
Oh, nice! And that just pops me back.
Yeah.
Which means
as you follow tags, it creates a stack, and then you can pop.
Cool. Which means other jumps that I may have done won't be part of that. That's very useful.
And Control O goes across files. So if you go from another file, you can go back and forth.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So Control O, and I guess Control T will jump around between files as well. Excellent. I always like it when I give a talk at a Vim meetup and I learn things. It's great.
But then we have more seats.
There's one here.
Yeah. And we have that one kind of standing seat if you'd like to come in.
So the next type of completion that I find useful as a programmer, so you've got symbols in your program. That's a common thing that you want to type, and you can kind of trust your computer if you've got a tags file to know what the symbols are. Another thing is file names. File name completion is quite useful. So I'm going to type EX because I have an examples. Oh no, I'm in the examples folder. Oh, that's why I didn't have a tag thing because my working directory is wrong. Okay, I'm going to type CO for code because this file is a code file. Control X again to go into that sub completion mode, and then Control F for file, and code.rb gets completed for me. This works kind of similarly to tab completion in the shell. So if you hit, let me just relaunch Vim from a different directory. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Okay, so I'm now in a different working directory. So now I can hit EX for examples, Control X, Control L, Control X, Control F, sorry, and then Control X, Control F again to complete the files in that, and I can use Control N and Control P to go back and forward in that list. So if you know that there's something in the examples directory and you want to reference it in your file, but you can't remember what it's called, well, Control X, Control F, Control X, Control F, there's the list. And you know you didn't make a typo because Vim did the typing for you. So that's file name completion. Any questions about that one?
I have kind of a personal question. Like when you learn this one, like these modes that we have and completion and different like keystrokes that we can hit and they are so useful. How do you do to remember them? You force yourself into using them for a week until they stick. What do you do?
So the things I've been talking about.
I write it down.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's like using them for a few days, reading from the paper until
You remember.
you get to. Yeah.
But also in this case, like the primary thing you need to remember is Control X puts you in completion mode when you're in insert mode. And then a lot of the things are kind of mnemonic from that. So like Control F for file name, or we're going to see Control L for line in a bit. Control square bracket for tag. Well, I use Control square bracket when I'm in normal mode for tags all the time. So that's kind of associated with tags already in my memory. So you know, Vim's quite good at making like having patterns. You know, the way that like D and capital D and C and capital C, you know, like D is delete with a motion, capital D is delete to end of line, C is change with a motion, capital C is change to end of line. You know, you get these patterns, which are a useful way of remembering things.
Okay.
But let's move on to context-aware word completion. So it's all been kind of fine so far, but like we're completing words. Surely everyone's editor can do that. I mean, how are we gonna show off to the Emacs crowd with just completing words? So let's get fancy. What if I want to pull in like the middle part of this sentence? I want to say something like the slow brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. That's a very similar sentence, but it's not exactly the same. So I don't necessarily want to yank it and put it and then edit it. Maybe it's quicker to just start typing the slow BR. But as soon as I type BR, like now I'm into the stuff I want to pull in from above. So I can hit Control X, our old friend, to put us in completion mode, and then I can hit Control P. And Control X, Control P again, and Control X, Control P again. I now have two options. Control N, Control N, Control X, Control P, Control X, Control P, Control X, Control P, Control X, Control P, Control X, Control P. I just pulled in that whole sentence without typing hardly anything. So what was happening? Well, the first time I hit Control X, Control P, Vim did what it normally does with Control P. It completed the word. But because I'd hit Control X first, it also remembered the context where it pulled that completion from. So when I hit Control X, Control P again, it knew, like, okay, I'm completing from this context. And think of the times, especially in programming, where you type these patterns. So I was pair programming with a friend of mine a couple of weeks ago, and we were writing some JavaScript tests. And there was this pattern that came up over and over again. You'd have it, open parentheses, some description of what the thing we were testing did, comma, function, open parentheses, close parentheses, open brace. And then, because of the test framework we were using, there was this kind of with thing that happened next. So then there was with, open parentheses, this, close parentheses, open brace. Like, because of the restrictions of the language, we couldn't make that any shorter. But it was this big repetitive thing. And I noticed what my friend James was doing is he would type it and then type out the description by hand, and then type FUN and just hammer on Control X, Control N over and over again, or Control X, Control P over and over again. And it would just pull in the whole of this like long string of JavaScript boilerplate that we had to use. So something where you have repetitive structure that you have to type over and over again, this kind of thing is really useful. As with regular completion, like P and N both work for searching previous and next. P tends to be my go-to because I'm more likely to be repeating something that just occurred before where I am rather than repeating something that occurred after where I am. Just typically that seems to be what happens. Any questions on that one?
You can't replay those commands easily without hammering Control X, Control P.
You can if you just throw a macro at it real fast.
Yeah. But there's no, you can't use period for that, right?
No, because you're still in insert mode, so it's all part of the same edit.
Okay.
So even recording a macro, I'm not sure what that would do. Like, I'm not sure if that would replay with the Control X, Control P, which would maybe pull from a different context and get confused. I've never tried it.
If you set a mark, you can do that.
Okay. So that's word completion, but what if we want to do more than just words? What if we want to complete entire lines? Again, sometimes these boilerplate structures that you get in software, they're not just words, they're entire lines. Like, say you're testing something, again with the testing, but tests tend to have quite repetitive structure. You know, you're testing something in a success case and then you want to test it in a failure case. It's not like so similar that you can make an abstraction, but it's similar enough that you just want to kind of pull in a couple of lines at a time from the previous thing and then tweak something here and there. So how do we do that? Well, I can start typing the quick, and then, oh, I already have a line that matches this. So Control X. Anyone want to guess what complete a line will be?
Control L.
Control L. Yeah. And this, like Control X, Control P, this is context aware. So if I hit Control X, Control L again, it pulls in the next line. This is the number one thing that I do when I'm pairing with people in Vim, where they go, whoa, what did you just do? And I learnt this from Mike Burns, who runs our Stockholm office, because in my thoughtbot interview, when I was pairing with him, I said, whoa, what did you just do? So this is a good one to show off, but also it's incredibly fast, and it's amazing how often it comes up. Like, part of the reason people often ask me and Mike and other people who use this about it is because it's amazing how many times when you're writing software you go, you know what, I kind of just want those two lines and then I'm going to tweak them a bit. So that's Control X, Control L. Possibly my favorite Vim thing of all time. So we've got one more type of completion. Everyone with me so far?
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to go back to some code, and we're going to talk about language-aware omni-completion. So Vim has a setting where you can turn on kind of a file type detection plugin system, and if you have that turned on, then it will do this thing called omni-completion, which is Control X, Control O. What does omni-completion do? Well, say I want to do something to this string. I have this string that says hello name, and then I want to call some method on the string. I can't remember what the method's called. I'll know it when I see it, but I just can't remember what it's called. If I hit Control X, Control X, not function X, Control X, Control O, I get a list of all the methods that are available for a Ruby string. Just run through them and go, oh yeah, capitalize, that's the one I wanted, cool, done, capitalize. Vim will do a surprisingly good job of this. It will do it well if the language plugin for that language supports it. It will try pretty hard if you have syntax highlighting available for that language. Like, it will try and do some stuff for you. You know, things like the word function in JavaScript, the highlighting knows that that's a language keyword, so even if you don't have any other JavaScript stuff installed, just by having the highlighting, it'll know it can complete the word function and that kind of thing. I don't use this as often as the others, but when it's useful, it's really useful.
This is Vim, bare bones Vim?
Yep, I haven't, apart from CTags, which isn't really a plugin, it's more of a third-party external program. And I use a plugin to create my tags file, but apart from CTags, nothing I've shown you is outside of normal standard Vim. There's no plugins, no special anything.
Can I ask about the line numbers? Is that a plugin or is it a different thing?
That is built in as well.
Okay.
You can type :set relative number, I think. Yeah. If you type :set relative number,
Right.
then it will. Yeah. And I turned that off before the talk so I could refer to absolute line numbers, but then when I restarted Vim because I was in the wrong directory, it turned back on.
The better one is the one that in the 0 you get the actual line of that number.
Yeah.
The actual number of the line, sorry.
Yeah. And that's also built into Vim, but it's just a newer version of Vim.
No, I haven't seen that before. So if you want to traverse like up to line 2 above or 2 below, is it going to be like I could throw in number and then Shift G will take me to whatever line number I want? If I have sequential
Yeah.
indexed order, what happens in relative mode?
So it works in the same way. So if I type 2 capital G,
Mhm.
I'm going to jump to here, even though it's labeled with a 5.
Okay.
But the thing that this is useful for is if I want to go up 5 lines from where I am, I can just type 5k.
Okay.
And if I'm on like line 97 of a file and I want to go up, then it's probably quicker to type 5k than it is to type like 92 capital G. And when you're doing like all kinds of different motions, you know, oh, I want to delete how many lines? 3 lines, because you don't have to do so much mental arithmetic. Is pretty much the benefit of this one. But if you're pair programming, it can drive you crazy, because as you're moving the cursor around, your pair's like, on line 7, no 6, no 5. Stop moving the cursor. So one more thing that I want to talk about, and then I'm done, which is customization. And I still don't mean plugins, I just mean built-in settings. Because it wouldn't be Vim if you couldn't just completely customize all of how this works. So going back to the very beginning, when I was here and I was showing you QU and Control P to complete quick. And I said, this looks in other files, and I'll talk more about where it looks. Where it looks is based on the complete setting. So if I type :set complete, I will just see what my setting is without changing it. It's kind of useful to know. And what the complete setting does is it tells Vim where to look for completions. So the rundown is, this is all default apart from kspell, by the way, which I've added, but everything before the kspell is default. So the dot means look in the current buffer. So the first set of, like the first things you're going to see will always be from the file that you're in. W is other windows that you have open. So if you had like a split window with a file here and a file here, that file will come next. Then other buffers that you have loaded in this tab or any other tab. Then U is unloaded buffers. So buffers that are open but they're not active in any window. Does that make sense? And then we've got T is actually for your tags file. So you can complete tags just with Control P. So like that's completing hello because it's in an open buffer, but also because it's in my tags file. And what else? Oh, and I is included files. So if you're using a language that has explicit includes, like in C where you hash include something.h, or in Python where you import from some package, then it will actually follow those and look in those files for completions. Ruby requires as well if you're not using Rails and you're requiring things by hand. So that's kind of useful because, you know, if you're including like a header file or some other component that you want to use, you can just out the box automatically complete symbols or words from that file. And then kspell is the one that I turn on beyond the defaults. K means look in the spelling dictionary, but kspell means look in the spelling dictionary but only when spelling is enabled. So let me show you what that means. Currently if I type QU and hit Control P, I just get these options from the file. But if I :set spell, now spell checking is enabled. And if I type QU and hit Control P, suddenly I get a lot more options. Quick, quite, qualified, quoting, quotients, quotient, quotidians, quotidian, quaff. If you can't quite remember how to spell a word, kind of handy.
What is this loading? Is this loading from the dictionary or from the variables that you have?
This is loading from the dictionary.
From the dictionary.
Yeah. So if you add in your complete setting, :set complete, if you just added :k to the end, then it would always look in the dictionary. If you add :k spell, then it looks in the dictionary, but only when spell checking is enabled. So I have spell checking enabled, for example, when I'm in a git commit message, when I'm in an email, because I write on my email in Vim. I sent one too many emails with :WQ at the end of them and decided I'm just going to switch to map.
How did you tell it to enable spell checking?
I typed :set spell.
Oh, okay, cool. I missed that part.
Yeah. So that's it. That's a little tour of Vim completion. Some stuff about how I customize it and use it. These slides are here. I'll throw that link on the meetup group as well. And this isn't just a slide deck. It's a document with all of my notes in, so you can get the whole thing from there. Any questions?
So one of the things, I don't know if you covered it because I came in a bit late, one of the things I found most valuable when using Vim across teams is being able to set a editor editor config file and be able to have Vim map that accordingly, either using bash RC or Vim RC files, so that you can make sure that tab indentation and is it spaces, is it 2, is it 4, whatever it may be, is set up properly. Do you use that yourself?
So we, at thoughtbot, we have a set of company doc files, which when people join the company, they're sort of pointed in the direction of. I never installed them because I had my own doc files, and I was like, wait, no, you remap the leader key, I'm out. But that at least is a fantastic repository of like common patterns and practices throughout the company. So like, I may disagree with the remapping the leader key thing, and I don't use the whole file, but I certainly like pull in pieces of that, and so do other people. And we have an open source tool called RCM, which is maintained internally, which kind of takes what you're talking about with having an editor RC and just takes it to the next level, where you could have multiple directories of things, and they could be tagged, and they could be specific to host names, and you could have your own dot files and your company's dot files, and then RCM just manages symlinking everything into the right place and deals with all of that stuff. So you can easily keep your own stuff in version control and share stuff around your company. So I'd recommend checking out RCM.
Yeah, if you could throw the link on that with the meetup as well as this, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
I always love seeing that.
Yep, dot files and RCM, I'll put them both in there. Anything else? Thanks for all your comments while I was talking. That was helpful. I learned things.
Thank you, George.